All Harry and Meghan need to do is prove to us that she popped those babies out. And that's all they need to do. And if they don't, it is unfair on the children. It's also unfair on the royal family.
People think her kids are fake. They think they're AI.
The whole description she does of the Portland hospital, the birth, that was completely fabricated. We all know.
Hey, quick update on this situation. It's getting messy fast. If you're into real-time drama like this, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle really thought they could keep their kids completely out of the spotlight, but that plan is cracking wide open in a wild way.
This scandal comes as no surprise. Speculation about the children has been simmering for years.
If she hasn't had the children herself, or Harry hadn't been involved, then they can't be in the royal line. They have to have royal blood, those little ones. Without that, there's no chance of them coming in member of the royal family.
This case about whether you think the birth was real, whether you think there was a surrogate, whether you think Meghan was wearing a moon bum. The fact is, Harry and Meghan lied. Buckingham Palace lied on their behalf. There was a complete cover-up over the birth of Prince Archie.
So she wasn't even pregnant. So it's very weird. And Harry it was said to Harry, not to her. I mean, she just came.
What used to be locked down tight is now blowing up everywhere, and explosive claims from Tom Bower have pushed Archie and Lilibet straight into the center of the storm. Now people are questioning everything, and the whispers about bloodlines and legitimacy are spreading like crazy.
Harry and Meghan Markle's surrogacy scandal has entered the mainstream media domain.
They need to prove that those children, Meghan and Harry, are not entitled to privacy in this matter. And their privacy is trumped by our right to know that no bastard is going to sit on the throne of this country.
Like, why lie? It was just so truly bizarre.
Meghan is using everything for publicity and not really truly there. We know how she treats her family.
What started as quiet curiosity has turned into loud, non-stop demands for answers. And the drama is hitting a level nobody saw coming. The palace is staying silent, but outside those gates, the noise is getting louder by the second. Calls for DNA tests and real proof are getting harder to ignore, and the pressure is building fast. The tension is rising, and this whole situation is spinning in a way that could flip everything people thought they knew about the royal family. Everything just flipped for Harry and Meghan, and it's happening quick. What used to be private family life is now one of the most talked about topics online. A fresh wave of claims from Tom Bower has thrown their kids right into the spotlight, and reactions are coming from.
I discovered was, of course, that she was hunting for a man in England from 2013 onwards, when her marriage had crashed and she couldn't find anyone in Canada at the time. And she wanted wealth and she wanted fame. And she targeted, there's no doubt she targeted.
Every direction. This isn't the usual royal gossip anymore. The focus has completely shifted. Now the conversation is centered on their children in a way no one expected. Across social media, people are digging into past moments they feel don't add up, connecting dots, and raising questions that have been building for years. What once stayed in the background is now impossible to ignore.
Tom, do you think Harry and Meghan are fast learning what they signed away when they took this Netflix big moolah? And I would say they signed away their credibility and their dignity.
Well, that's our view, but it's not theirs. They need the money, and they need it now more than ever because they've got no other source of income. So I think they're just stuck with the devil now. They're tied to Netflix, they're tied to their book, and all the criticism they're going to take means nothing because that's the only way they can earn their money.
And it's picking up serious momentum. For a couple who made it clear they wanted to protect their kids from public attention, this shift is massive. More voices keep jumping in, pushing the story even further into the spotlight, and the more it spreads, the harder it gets to control. Now, one question keeps popping up.
I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point. And the things that they're going to miss is, well, everything. You know, I love my country. I always have done, despite what some people in that country have done. So, you know, I miss the UK. I miss parts of the UK, of course.
Everywhere. and it's not going away anytime soon. People are asking, who are Archie and Lilibet really? It's the kind of question that normally feels way too personal, but with this level of public attention, it's being asked louder and louder every single day. Tom Bower's claims are also bringing fresh attention to how certain personal decisions may have been handled behind closed doors. Some are suggesting there could be more to the story than what's been shared publicly. When it comes to family lines, things get serious fast, and that's exactly why this is blowing up right now. At the same time, Prince Harry is feeling the pressure like never before. His public image is shifting under non-stop scrutiny, with people forming opinions from every angle.
You hoped your children, Archie and Lilibet, would have had that you think they won't be able to now with this decision?
Well, for a start, the only time that I've come back to the UK is sadly for funerals or court cases.
The Queen and the Duke.
Yes, and we just bumped into the Duke as we were walking by, which was so nice. So it'll be a nice moment to introduce the baby to more family, and my mom's with us as well. So it's been a really, here we go.
another great grand.
He's not very intelligent and undoubtedly remains damaged by the early death of his mother, Diana. And he very foolishly blames the media for her, in his words, which is complete nonsense. But I think he loved the adulation. He loved it when he was being praised, especially when he was a soldier. But then he became criticized, firstly because he became drunk in public.
Reports describe a tense environment, with Harry seeming restless, reacting strongly at times, and staying locked in on everything being said about him. What's really catching people off guard is how different everything looks now. Harry, who once spoke openly about mental health, is now being described as overwhelmed under the weight of it all, and people are noticing every small change. The steady image he once had is starting to look shaken. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle is moving in a completely different way, and that contrast is turning heads too. Reports describe her approach as controlled and strategic.
Conversation, I'm told and I believe, was very early on in their relationship when Harry is bowled over by Meghan, is desperately in love, and already is talking about marriage, but long before their engagement is even announced, let alone they're married and she's pregnant. And he's sitting in Clarence's house with then Prince Charles and Camilla. And Camilla just laughingly says, well, any child you'll have will probably have brown skin and ginger hair.
What about the security arrangements that were in place made you feel it would be unsafe for you and your family?
There's only so much that I can say because of the redaction process and the national security matters at hand, but everything. Because in beginning of 2020, I was scored the highest as far as risk was concerned. And then overnight, I was reduced to the lowest without actually going through the risk management.
Focused on legal responses and keeping everything tightly managed. No emotional reactions, no public statements, just a quiet, firm effort to shut things down before they spread further. But here's where it takes another turn. The more this situation gets pushed down, the stronger it seems to come back. Instead of fading, it keeps rising, pulling in more attention every time. Now people are stepping in with sharper questions, going back and re-examining details that once slipped by unnoticed. Old moments are being looked at in a whole new way, from carefully staged photos to timelines that some believe don't fully match up.
It was a dreadful thing to do, and actually completely wrong. He is quite hard and harsh.
Then he wore a Nazi uniform at a party. Then he was wearing absolutely nothing in the nude at the party in Las Vegas. And he couldn't cope with the criticism because in his view, he is a target. And it didn't help. His telephones were hacked by News International, Rupert Murdoch's group here.
And this is only getting deeper from here. Now everything is being put under a serious microscope. The way their family story was presented is getting questioned from all sides, with some saying it felt a little too perfect, a little too controlled. And when things start looking that polished, curiosity doesn't just sit still, it grows fast. Critics are saying Harry and Meghan had plenty of chances to clear things up, but instead chose to stay private. And now, that same privacy is being looked at in a totally different way. What once seemed like a solid story is now getting challenged from every angle, and all eyes are locked on them as this keeps unfolding.
Well, look, Radar Online, in fairness, they do quote you and say Royal Author Lady Colin Campbell recently challenged the conspiracy of silence and misinformation surrounding both Tom.
Whether people agree with Tom Bower or not, one thing is clear. The silence from Harry and Meghan isn't slowing anything down. If anything, it's making the noise even louder, and the attention isn't fading anytime soon. Another detail people can't stop talking about is the noticeable distance between Archie, Lilibet, and the rest of the royal family, and it's raising real questions. When you look at Prince William and Catherine, their kids are often seen with King Charles, Queen Camilla, and even moments with the late Queen Elizabeth.
That has always been her motive. She's money obsessed and always has been. And that is why she married Prince Harry. Her great surprise and disappointment was to discover that Prince Harry had very little money. She imagined he'd be worth hundreds of millions, if not billions. And she's having to make up for it now.
There are photos, public appearances, and interactions that feel natural and consistent. But when it comes to Harry and Meghan's children, that same pattern just isn't there, and people are noticing more than ever. There aren't widely shared moments with senior royals, no clear family bonding that many expected.
That she never intended to go to the Portland hospital. She intended to have the baby at home. We know that they deceived the public about the birth date and time of the whole event. So, and also, you know, even it goes down to the lawyer saying that in that statement, when they have that long attack on the Mail, which is astonishing, that Meghan, we know she lied in her statement.
That absence is standing out, and it's making people wonder what's really going on behind the scenes. Some believe the distance comes down to personal choices, while others think it may have been intentional from the very beginning. Either way, the lack of visible connection is being talked about more openly now, adding another layer to an already intense situation. And this is where things start to get even more serious. People are debating different possibilities, including private family decisions that are usually kept out of public view. In most cases, those choices are completely normal. But when it involves a royal family where lineage carries major importance, the conversation hits differently. If any details about family background...
That's why I think, I think Tina is a great journalist, and perhaps she has inside information. I don't see how the Sussexes can give up both the Netflix and the book deal. They won't be living in a Montecito cottage. They're more likely living somewhere in downtown LA, in a little hovel. That's their problem. They're stuck now. But, you know, the truth is about...
Extraordinary reporting in your book on what this was likely based on and how it doesn't match up to what Meghan said. Here's the clip, Sot 6 from the Oprah interview.
Were ever unclear or misunderstood, it could raise bigger questions tied to tradition and structure. The monarchy has always depended on a sense of continuity, and anything that seems to challenge that quickly becomes a major topic. That's exactly why this situation is pulling so much attention right now. It's not just about one family. It connects to how people see the stability of the entire institution. Even small uncertainties can grow into huge discussions when something this historic is involved. And then there's Tom Bower, the name right at the center of all these claims. He's known for detailed and sometimes controversial takes on royal matters.
How does your mom feel about your relationship with your brother now?
I think she would be sad. I think she'd be looking at it long term, to know that there are certain things that we need to go through to be able to heal the relationship. I have felt the presence of my mum more so in the last 2 years than I have in the last...
That's our view, but it's not theirs. They need the money, and they need it now more than ever because they've got no other source of income. So I think they're just stuck with the devil now. They're tied to Netflix, they're tied to their book, and all the criticism they're going to take means nothing because that's the only way they can earn them.
And that reputation is why people pay close attention when he speaks. When he says something, it gets reactions. And this time is no different. The conversation is louder, more intense, and nowhere near finished. Many are calling this a spark that could turn into something much bigger, and the attention just keeps building. If these claims keep gaining traction, the impact on Harry and Meghan's public image could be serious, with more people starting to question everything they thought they knew about their story. But what's really pushing this even further is one key detail: the silence through all the noise. Harry and Meghan haven't stepped forward with a clear public response. No detailed statement, no direct clarification, nothing to fully settle the questions. And that quiet approach is standing out more than ever. Instead of calming things down, it's doing the opposite. It's pushing more people to ask questions, to speculate, and to keep the conversation alive. The longer it goes on, the bigger it gets, and the harder it becomes to slow it down. Now the pressure is building out in the open. Calls for clear answers are spreading across platforms, with debates happening everywhere. From social media to major talk shows, every detail is being picked apart. Photos, timelines, past interviews, all of it. Online, this situation has taken on a life of its own, and what's coming next might take things even further. You keep seeing the same question pop up again and again. If everything is accurate, why not just address it directly and clear the air? That curiosity is exactly what's keeping this topic trending, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. Every single day without a response adds another layer, making the situation more intense and way harder to control in public. Started as a small wave of chatter has now turned into a full-blown media storm, and it just keeps growing louder. From a public image angle, this is a critical moment. The Sussex brand has always been built on a carefully shaped story, family stability, a fresh start, and a new life away from royal duties. From interviews to documentaries, every detail helped build that image. But now, with all eyes locked in and questions stacking up, that same image is being examined like never before, and the pressure is real. That polished version people once believed in is starting to show cracks, and not small ones that can be brushed aside. This shift feels deeper, heavier, and way harder to manage than anything before. No perfectly staged photo or carefully worded interview seems strong enough to quiet the growing noise. For Prince Harry, this hits on a completely different level. This isn't just another headline, it's personal. It cuts right into the story he's been telling for years. Fatherhood has always been at the center of that story, something he's spoken about again and again as a turning point in his life. From major interviews to public appearances, Harry has shared how becoming a father gave him purpose, direction, and stability. It became a key part of how people understood his decisions and his path after stepping away from royal life. But now, critics are focusing directly on that part of his life, raising questions that challenge the foundation of that narrative. And those questions don't just affect public image, they hit something much deeper. That's why the reaction feels so intense right now. This isn't just about headlines anymore. It's about identity, reputation, and how his story is being judged in real time. The conversation has shifted from simple curiosity to something far more serious, and the scrutiny just keeps building. People are now looking at Prince Harry from completely different angles, and the contrast is hard to ignore. Some portray him as out of the loop, while others believe he's fully aware of everything happening. But neither version paints a strong or steady picture, and both are being pushed across media platforms non-stop. What makes this even more complicated is how little control there seems to be. The more the conversation spreads, the harder it becomes to manage how his story is told. And right now, perception is taking over. Because at this point, the spotlight isn't just on what's true or not, it's on how everything looks to the public. And one theme keeps coming back again and again: control, or the lack of it. The real question now isn't just about the claims, it's about who gets to define the story moving forward, and whether Prince Harry can take that control back. Sources close to Montecito are painting a picture that feels tense and hard to ignore. The atmosphere is being described as heavy, with pressure building behind closed doors. Reports say Harry has become deeply focused on everything being said, constantly checking headlines, scrolling through articles, even watching videos where people break down every detail of his family story. This isn't casual anymore. It's non-stop. Every photo, every timeline, every claim is being analyzed in public, and he's reportedly taking it all in. People around him say the stress is starting to show. Restless energy, quick reactions, and long nights without real rest. And that weight, it's starting to show on the outside too. Observers say it's becoming harder and harder to ignore. What really stands out is the contrast between then and now. Prince Harry once positioned himself as a strong voice for mental health, encouraging openness and balance. But now, critics are pointing out how different things look, saying he appears caught in the same kind of pressure he once spoke about overcoming. And there's still more to unpack ahead. At the same time, Meghan Markle is said to be handling this in a completely different way, and people are paying close attention to that contrast. Reports describe a focused, strategic approach, with legal teams stepping in, formal notices being prepared, and a clear push to control how the story spreads. But here's where things take another turn. Every move to contain the situation is being watched closely, and instead of calming things down, it's sparking even more curiosity. People are questioning everything. Why take such strong steps, and what does it really mean? Then there's the royal family, and their silence is just as loud. No public comments, no visible family moments, none of the usual gestures people have come to expect over the years. Even routine acknowledgements that would normally happen haven't been seen, and that absence is standing out more than ever. When you compare that to Prince William and Catherine's children, who are often seen in public family settings, the difference feels sharp, and that contrast is fueling even more discussion, with people wondering what's really happening behind the scenes. Now the big question is getting louder. Does the royal family know more than they're saying, or is this distance simply being misunderstood? Either way, the silence from every side is adding serious intensity, and the conversation isn't slowing down at all. But now there's a new angle entering the discussion, and it's shifting how people see everything. Instead of viewing the distance as rejection, some are starting to believe it could actually be intentional protection. The idea is that keeping Archie and Lilibet away from the center of royal life might have been a careful move to avoid future fallout, especially if there were concerns quietly building in the background. And now, with these claims hitting the spotlight, that theory is gaining even more traction. Some are even suggesting the palace may be staying silent on purpose, watching how everything unfolds instead of stepping in too early. It's starting to feel like a waiting game, with all eyes on Harry and Meghan to respond. Or not. If that interpretation holds any weight, this situation becomes something much bigger. It stops looking like simple speculation and starts feeling like a serious institutional issue. Because if there were ever concerns at a higher level, the impact would go far beyond just one family. At this point, the tone has clearly shifted. What began as curiosity has turned into strong, ongoing suspicion. And it's no longer just small conversations. Bigger platforms, public discussions, and well-known voices are now all jumping in, pushing this topic further into the spotlight. One question keeps coming up again and again. Will Harry and Meghan directly address these claims in a clear and final way? It might seem extreme, but as long as clear answers feel out of reach, the curiosity just keeps building. What's making this even more intense is the idea that there were earlier chances to clear things up. Some critics believe explanations could have been given, details could have been clarified, and confusion could have been reduced before things reached this level. Instead, the response has stayed limited, and now that choice is being interpreted in completely different ways depending on who you ask. In today's world, where every detail gets analyzed, silence doesn't fade away. It becomes part of the story, and right now, that silence is being read in the loudest way possible, adding even more pressure to a situation that already feels like it's reaching a breaking point. What's hitting people hardest now is the feeling that some of this damage might not be easy to undo. Prince Harry, once seen as bold and independent, is now being viewed in a very different light, and the shift is impossible to ignore. Even some who were once close to him are said to be stepping back, and that only adds to the growing sense that something big has changed. And this still isn't the end of it. According to reports, his behavior has become harder for people around him to read. There are moments of clear frustration, followed by long stretches where he pulls back completely. Those shifts are being talked about more openly now, with some suggesting he's struggling to keep a steady sense of direction under all this pressure. What makes it hit even harder is how closely it connects to fatherhood. That's something he's always described as a core part of his life, shaping how people understand his choices and his journey. Now, with that part of his story being questioned, the impact feels way deeper than a typical public controversy. At the same time, Meghan Markle is being described as calm and highly controlled in her response, and that contrast is hard to miss. Reports suggest she's sticking to structured legal steps, working carefully to manage how everything plays out publicly and limit how far certain claims can spread. But even that approach is pulling more attention. Instead of quieting things down, it's leading to more discussion, with people watching every move and forming their own opinions. In situations like this, trying to contain a story can sometimes keep it in the spotlight even longer, and that's exactly what seems to be happening. Public reaction is also being shaped by everything that came before. From polished interviews to carefully produced media projects, there was always a strong focus on honesty, growth, and transparency. Now, with questions spreading and few direct answers, that contrast is becoming a major talking point. Some people are feeling that disconnect strongly, seeing it as a gap between image and reality, whether that that view is fair or not, it's clearly influencing how the situation is being discussed right now, and it's not slowing down. And through all of this, one detail keeps standing out: the silence from the royal family. No public support, no visible involvement, no clear signals about where things stand. That absence is being noticed just as much as everything else, leaving Harry and Meghan facing the full weight of this situation on their own. Behind palace doors, the situation is being described as extremely delicate. Careful decisions are reportedly being made at every step. There are claims that King Charles III has been advised to keep his distance, with concerns that even a small public move could create bigger complications if things shift suddenly. That silence isn't going unnoticed. It's being interpreted in all kinds of ways, adding even more pressure to an already intense moment. At the same time, there's growing talk about quiet internal discussions happening in the background. These conversations are said to focus on future planning, legal considerations, and how to respond if questions continue to escalate. And these aren't casual talks. They show just how seriously this situation is being taken behind the scenes. One of the biggest points being raised now centers around royal structure and long-standing traditions. People are starting to ask how certain scenarios could impact titles, roles, and positions within the royal system. Nothing has been confirmed, but the fact that these possibilities are even being discussed is enough to keep speculation moving at full speed. Could changes ever actually happen? That's the question people keep coming back to again and again. Right now, there are no clear answers, and that lack of clarity is keeping the debate alive. The uncertainty is feeding more attention, and the conversation just keeps growing. What's becoming clear is that public perception of the Sussex story is shifting fast. What once focused on independence and a fresh start is now being re-examined under a much more critical lens. Every unanswered question adds more weight, and the pressure keeps building day by day. And now everything seems to be narrowing down to one key decision. A direct response could bring clarity and possibly calm things down, but continued silence might keep the conversation going without any real resolution. That contrast is exactly why this moment feels so important, because when it comes to stories tied to legacy and public trust, unanswered questions don't just disappear. They stick around, shaping opinions and influencing how everything is remembered over time. Harry and Meghan built their path around openness and a new beginning, but now, with attention at its peak, that path is being tested in a way that's pulling global focus and non-stop discussion. This story is still unfolding, and right now there are more questions than answers filling the space. The silence, the claims, the reactions, it's all building into something people can't look away from. Whether you believe these reports or think it's all being overanalyzed, one thing is clear: this situation isn't fading anytime soon. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Harry and Meghan should come forward and address everything directly? Would a clear answer finally settle things, or just open the door to even more questions? And what do you make of the royal family staying completely silent through all of this? Drop your thoughts below and join the conversation. This is one topic people can't stop talking about. And if you're following stories like this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next update, because the deeper this goes, the more there is to uncover.